You know, it's hard to ignore some of the big headlines lately. One really jumped out at me recently. A pretty significant move by, well, a major European power in a conflict that's been going on for ages.
Right.
And it just immediately made me think, what's really behind this? What are the ripple effects here?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And it's actually exactly what we're going to try and unpack in this deep dive.
Okay.
So our focus today is squarely on the very latest developments around the recognition of a Palestinian state.
Right.
We're pulling insights, directly from recent news sources. There's a key Al Jazeera piece that kind of distills statements from important international figures, different bodies.
Got it.
And our mission really is just to unpack the reactions, the motivations behind them, and the wider context of this whole very charged issue. Give you the essentials without, all the noise.
Perfect. Okay, so let's set the scene a bit. The main event we're looking at is French President Emmanuel Macron's plan, his announced plan, to formally recognize a Palestinian state.
Yeah.
And the article we're using, it's dated July 25, 2025. So this is really fresh stuff.
Right off the press, basically.
Exactly. So what did Macron actually say? And when is this supposed to happen?
Well, Macron's announcement was pretty direct. He stated, France will formally recognize the state of Palestine at the UN General Assembly.
Okay, when?
In September 2025. So coming up fairly soon.
Mm-hmm. And his reasoning?
His stated rationale was, and I'm quoting loosely here, in keeping with its historic commitment to a just and lasting peace in the Middle East.
Okay, so tying it to France's long-term policy goals.
Exactly. But what's really interesting here is, while France is grabbing the headlines now, they're actually joining a pretty large group.
That's right. I saw that in the source. It says at least 142 out of 193 UN members already recognize Palestine or have plans to.
Yeah, a huge majority.
And it's not just symbolic either. We saw Norway, Ireland, Spain, fellow EU members indicate back in May 2025 that they had already started this process.
Yes, they did.
So if so many countries are already there, what makes the French decision such a big deal? Why is it so noteworthy?
That's a really crucial point because, yes, many nations have recognized Palestine, but France carries a different kind of weight,
How so?
Well, the article points out that France is one of Israel's closest allies and a G7 member. So this decision makes it the largest, and you could argue the most influential European country to make this move.
So it's not just adding one more to the list.
Not at all. It's more of a qualitative shift, maybe. It could suggest a potential crack, perhaps, in that traditional united front of Israel's Western allies.
Interesting. Signaling maybe a growing consensus, even among close partners, that recognition is, necessary.
Potentially. That it's seen as a necessary step towards some kind of resolution.
Okay. And, as you'd expect, a big move like that from France. It definitely didn't go unnoticed.
Oh, absolutely not, especially in Washington and Jerusalem.
Let's pivot to those reactions then. They were immediate and pretty strong. Starting with the U.S., how did they respond?
Yeah, the U.S. condemnation was swift and very public. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, he went on X, formerly Twitter, late Thursday, July 24th,
and
posted a really strong rejection, called France's decision reckless, said it only serves Hamas propaganda and sets back peace.
Wow, reckless. That's direct.
Very direct. It gives you a clear sense of the administration's displeasure.
And beyond just that statement, the article suggests a kind of broader stance from the Trump administration, right?
Yeah.
How did that play out?
It did. They went a step further, actually. The administration announced they wouldn't attend an upcoming UN conference.
Which one?
It's scheduled for July 28th to 30th, so right around now, co-chaired by France and Saudi Arabia.
And the goal of the conference?
Specifically aiming to find a roadmap for a two-state solution.
Okay, so the U.S. boycotting a conference about the two-state solution. That definitely raises some questions.
It does. Especially since, the two-state solution is still technically the long-held official stance of the U.S.
But President Trump himself has expressed doubts about it since returning to office.
Yeah, considerable doubt about its viability. The article even mentions that really striking suggestion he made.
The one about Gaza.
That the U.S. could take over Gaza, displace the population over 2 million Palestinians, and, turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East.
Which drew a lot of condemnation.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Widely condemned by rights groups, Arab states, Palestinians, the UN, the term ethnic cleansing was used.
Which is, just to clarify for everyone listening, the forced removal of ethnic or religious groups a serious violation of international law.
Precisely. And adding to this sort of mixed messaging, you had the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, commenting back in June
What did he say?
that he didn't think an independent Palestinian state was still a U.S. foreign policy goal.
But the State Department walked that back a bit.
They did. Spokesperson Tammy Bruce clarified that Huckabee speaks for himself. So
Yeah.
you definitely see some internal tension there in the U.S. position.
Okay, so that's the U.S. reaction, strong condemnation, questions about the two-state commitment. What about Israel? How did Prime Minister Netanyahu and his government respond?
Unsurprisingly, also strong condemnation from Israel, but the emphasis was maybe slightly different, very focused on security concerns.
Right.
Prime Minister Netanyahu said the move rewards terror. That was his framing, and risks creating another Iranian proxy.
He used incredibly strong language, didn't he? I remember the quote in the article.
He did, yeah, very stark. He said, a Palestinian state in these conditions would be a launch pad to annihilate Israel, not to live in peace beside it.
Wow. Annihilate Israel.
Exactly. And then he added, the Palestinians do not seek a state alongside Israel. They seek a state instead of Israel.
So framing it not just as a diplomatic mistake, but as an existential threat.
Completely. Portraying an independent Palestine under these conditions as a direct security threat, a base for attacks. It really highlights those deep security anxieties driving Israel's opposition.
And it wasn't just Netanyahu, right? The defense minister also weighed in.
That's right, Israel Kitz. He called the French move a disgrace and a surrender to terrorism.
Pretty unequivocal.
Yeah. And added Israel wouldn't allow a Palestinian entity that would harm our security, endanger our existence. Really underscores how high they see the stakes in Jerusalem.
Which brings us, I suppose, to the wider context, because this isn't happening in a vacuum, right?
Not at all. That context is crucial for understanding why France might be doing this now and why the reactions are so intense.
And that context is the war in Gaza.
Exactly. This diplomatic move by France is happening as there's, well, mounting international pressure on Israel to end its war on Gaza.
A war that's been going on for a long time now.
It has. Just to quickly recap the origins for you, it started with those Hamas-led attacks on southern Israel, October 7th, 2023. Around 11,139 people killed, over 200 captives taken.
And Israel's military response in Gaza since then, the numbers are staggering.
They really are. The source gives figures from Israel's, 21-month assault now, almost 60,000 Palestinians killed, another 144,000 wounded. Devastating.
And the ceasefire talks haven't worked.
No. Months and months of negotiations brokered by the U.S., Egypt, Qatar, but so far, no breakthrough. It just paints this picture of, intense urgency for the international community.
Which explains the pressure you mentioned.
It does, and that pressure is intensifying. Just this past Monday, July 21st, you had 28 countries putting out a joint statement.
You had some big players.
Oh, yeah. UK, Japan, lots of European nations. They told Israel directly the war in Gaza must end now.
Strong words.
And they specifically condemned the drip-feeding of aid and the inhumane killing of civilians, including children, seeking to meet their most basic needs of water and food.
So a really broad, unified call from a lot of countries.
Yeah, it shows that growing global impatience, the humanitarian concern. It adds another really complex layer to this diplomatic landscape France is navigating.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together then. What we've seen in this deep dive is France making this significant decision recognizing a Palestinian state.
Right, a major European power.
And it's met with really strong condemnation from two key players, the U.S. and Israel, each with their own reasons, their own framing.
Security concerns from Israel, hindering peace and helping Hamas from the U.S. perspective.
And this whole thing is playing out against the backdrop of this incredibly intense and ongoing Gaza conflict.
And these wider international efforts trying to find a way to end the violence.
So what this really reveals for you, listening, is just how complex these perspectives are. Often conflicting, right?
Absolutely. You see this intricate dance, really, between diplomacy, national security worries, and these urgent humanitarian appeals from around the world.
Every player has their own deeply held reasons, their own fears, it seems.
And every action, like France's decision, clearly has these significant ripple effects.
Which leaves us with maybe a final thought to ponder, something for you to think about.
Yeah.
As more nations do move toward formally recognizing a Palestinian state, what are the most immediate practical implications going to be, both for stability in the region and, well, for the future of international diplomacy itself?
That's a big question.
It is, and it's one that's definitely still evolving, something we'll undoubtedly need to keep a close eye on.